for like 2 seconds longer than everyone else. I feel like mine cuts in.
It's because I'm just waiting to make it awkward. They can't see us.
Oh,
but they can hear us right now.
They can hear us. There we go. See, I'm not doing the posing.
So no one can see. I was under the impression that people could see me. But okay, no. Never mind.
I can.
I just
Brad can.
You're just staring at.
Yes, Brad can see us.
I wait until it's awkward because it's more fun for me.
Yeah.
So hi, everybody.
Hi, Brad.
Hi. Hello.
Kellen. It's so nice to see you both. It's so nice to be here.
I know.
Highlight of the week.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
It's the best part. Especially when I get to do things like this to you guys. Last time we talked about a very specific comic.
Damn it.
One singular, very specific
comic.
No,
don't.
And I have to.
This is the funniest thing I think I've ever experienced.
I have to.
So stupid.
And I'm going to.
Can I recap what's leading up to what I think this clip is?
Previously.
For the no one who's watching, because I can't actually tell.
It's fine. There's one person watching. It's fine.
Okay, so if you weren't here last week, I started talking about a previous conversation that Kellen and I had about a property of media, which is both comic book, which has also graphic novel, which has also been adapted into a Netflix series.
Yes.
A Netflix original series.
Yes.
And I was referring to this piece called Sweet Home, which is about like monsters and all this other stuff. And it turns out the entire same time, and we'd been having this conversation over a series of weeks.
It was a while, yeah.
I was like, oh, Sweet Home. Sweet Home, like this thing, it's about like transformation, and it's about the world is changing, and these are the kinds of overlying pieces to this conversation. And Kellen said, oh, the Netflix series is good, but you should really read the comic. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was a comic. He's like, yeah, it's a comic. Go and find it and read it, and it's much better. The ending is much better. The ending is much better in the comic than it is in the graphic novel than it is in the show. They add some stuff to the show, and I was like, oh, okay. Let me go check out the comic. I find the comic. I read the whole thing in like 2 days, which Kellen is like, yeah, that makes sense. I ran through it real fast when I read it too. Awesome. We still keep talking about it. We end up talking about it last week. I described the whole thing where it's like, the plot of what we're discussing, because we're trying to explain it to other people. And it's about, people turning into these like vile, horrific monsters and then killing everybody that they see. And it has to deal with transformation of what humans are as a species. And there's a whole military subplot in the show that isn't in the comic. And I'm talking about all these things and how I thought those were weird. And Kellen and I had not discussed this before. So he's kind of nodding along and he's like letting me talk. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then this happens after the broadcast.
Then at the very end of the broadcast, this is what happens.
I can't find the comic. That's what leads into this. I can't find it. I'm trying to find copies of it because I want to read it.
Yeah. So this is what happens.
Oh, I love that you ended it right in the middle.
Oh, good. Yeah. So good, Brad.
Okay, seriously, help me. I can't find Sweet Home, and I want it.
I put it in our Discord chat, by the way.
Oh, Discord. I'm like looking at the private chat.
No. I put it in Discord chat just for us. So.
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth.
The fuck is Sweet Tooth? What?
What are you talking about?
Sweet Home.
It's so good.
What?
My dude, you knew.
Are we talking about two separate things?
I was talking about Sweet Home the whole time. How did you hear me describe the entire plot and not realize that it was not the thing that you were thinking of?
I was a little confused. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just gonna keep going with this. When you were like,
do you not know what that is now?
I have no. When you were like, it's set in South Korea, I was like, I do not remember it being set in South Korea.
You were the reason I knew there was a comic. You said, do they do this a lot? Is there a Sweet Tooth Netflix show?
There is a Sweet Tooth.
Is there a government conspiracy?
There is not, and I was just so confused. I was like, I need to talk with her about this after the show because I'm like, I don't.
What?
I don't want to get into
Sweet Home. Sweet Home. Oh my god, dude. What?
So,
You haven't read Sweet Home?
I have not. I have no idea what Sweet Home is, but it sounds like it's fantastic.
So that's a thing that happens.
So good. It's so good.
It's the most bizarre. I have never in my life experienced anything as bizarre.
And in my defense, this is Sweet Tooth, which is a Netflix show about people turning into monsters. And that's
the other thing. His is about these adorable little half animal, half human babies that just turn into humanoid people who like have antlers. Like, oh no. And I'm talking about people transforming violently into monsters. I'm describing them as monsters, and he thinks I'm talking about adorable half animal, half human babies.
That's a monster right there.
Look
Look at that.
Monster, it's a kid.
Look at this guy. Look at this
I'm
guy.
talking about them like these horrific,
monster
murderous monsters.
Now, Carolyn, I read Sweet Home. It is fantastic.
It's
I'm so hesitant to watch the Netflix show because I was so impressed with how good it was.
It's worth watching for the visuals.
Yeah.
The visuals of the monsters and the cinematography direction of the actual show is really good. You just have to, if you protect in your mind what Sweet Home is, and then are like, this is the different thing. And don't do that thing if you can, where you separate them. And then watch it. I think I hurt myself by reading the comic halfway through, because then when it jumps, it gets further deviated as it goes in meaningful ways. Because they're trying to do multiple seasons. It ends on like a cliffhanger, sort of. Not really. It doesn't. It ends open. It ends open-ended. And not a cliffhanger, though. And when I read where I had watched up to, like if this is the show, like I had watched up to there. And then I read the whole thing. And that last chunk is the chunk that's really different in a way where I think the show is not nearly as good. So I went into that last piece with this amazing pedestal for what I expected that last piece to be, and it's the most different, like as the show goes on. So you just treat them like different things, not meant to be the same. Let Sweet Home the comic be like it's its own contained thing. There's been some serious deviations by the end of the show from what was in the comic, and you would notice them pretty quickly. But the show has some really great visuals. They change a few things, add a few things, whatever. As far as like the characters go in the beginning, like the apartment people before other people arrive. And they're all, I think it's well acted. It's interesting. There are some additional dynamics that are interesting because there is one additional main character and some other subplots that didn't exist previously. So it's cool. I definitely think it's worth watching for the kind of cinematography and direction alone.
It's great. I love the Brad. I love that you recorded that moment after.
I know
that is captured.
And I love that this is there's something Inception like.
Yes.
I'm sure is like the easy joke to make there. Something Inception. But that was pretty funny. And then we'll have a recording of this.
I know.
And then I can send that to my friends because they keep saying they want to watch this, and I'm like, do you know?
Do you watch this? Do you like this? This is pretty freaking funny. Right here.
Right. Set the bar really high.
Yeah.
So when they watch the rest of it,
show the best clip that we've ever made.
What the hell are they talking about?
And then be like, see, look how funny we are.
This is real good.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, if you like horror, so Sweet Home is being held up next to Squid Game. It's like not Squid. I haven't watched Squid Game, but it looks incredibly similar to so many different things. Like seems very like Battle Royale-esque or 13 Game of Death is a Thai film I feel like I've brought up here before that I absolutely love, where a guy is a contestant. I haven't watched Squid Game, so I don't actually know anything other than what I've seen in memes, but it seems like a guy gets approached and is like, do you want to play a game? And the guy's like, sure. And you'll win a bunch of money if you survive, right? There's a lot of that. I love that. So any movie related to that, any show related to that, for some reason, I just very much like that dynamic in a horror, high suspense environment. I really, really like that. But they're being held next to each other. Obviously, Sweet Home does not have that premise, but in terms of stylization and kind of the level at which I don't know how to describe it, like the production values and all that stuff, like they're very similar in nature. A lot of like, if you like this, then consider this. And I see Sweet Home and Squid Game together. So if you like Squid Game, give Sweet Home a try. If you aren't scared of horror stuff. I know some people can't do horror, and this is genuinely kind of terrifying, both existentially and physically, like until when you see what's going on. Yeah. But I thought Kellen would appreciate very much, especially in the comic, the existential dread and horror conversation going on. Love it. And especially the ending, because like the explanation that's given when how do I say this, people V2 walk around, right? And then they have conversations and there's an explanation of like, this was just like, this is what happened and this is what's going on. And the fact that just ends up being what was going on. And so then it's like some are chosen, some are, I don't know, just that whole thing. I was reading this and I'm like, of course Kellen likes this. Yeah. Of course.
I started reading the comic instantly. I mean, that night we got off.
I was like, you would love this, please watch it.
Yeah, and I instantly spoke to it. I was just like, oh gosh, this character is so awful, and yet I also love him so much.
He's 18. Yeah. What are you going to do? And he meaningfully grows throughout the story.
Yeah, he does.
Which is obviously incredibly traumatic, but it's, in terms of timeline, it's like, I think 2 months, like it's not that long of a time frame. But it is, I'm looking at the BJ's comment about Conjuring. It's not scary like that. Well, no, I guess it kind of is. It's monster go boo scary. It's like not just that tension from monster, but it's like the monster's right there and the guy's got like a stick and he's like, shit, what do I do?
I mean, that first scare with the lady in terms of with the eating disorder is so good. I want to see them do that. I want to be like, okay,
they did it well. I did think it starts off the show very strong. Good. It's like it just devolves when like the big thing that happens that changes the dynamics of the people in the building happens. Like I want to say like 2/3 of the way through with the bus. And when that happens, there's a big deviation in how that's handled between the two.
Are the creators part of the Netflix show, or is someone just adapting it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It came out a while ago, I think. But yeah, so I really love the comic. So I do want a physical copy of the comic. And I debated I was hoping there would be a Megatomb.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, that's why I was like, yeah, it's just get it on Amazon. It's right here.
I was like, I would get, if I wish because Sweet Home didn't seem that long. Like it could probably fit in one of those.
Or even just a manga, right? Like it would have been easy to do like a little.
I'm seeing like 12 volumes. Like I'm seeing I haven't found the end of the volumes. So I'm not finding a Megatome. I want to find that. And also even the manga the manga style are all in Korean. So I can't find a translated version anywhere.
There's not like a Viz-Big version of it or something?
No, not that I can find. Everything I translated is just, one of those terrible comic websites where you have to, kill 5 pop-ups and then 3 more as you scroll down on every single page. That's the only place.
I love Asian horror. If it's
there's more tension. It's tension and not not to sound like the Red Letter Media guys, but oh, here's a loud noise and a jump scare. They're right about that. That's just.
But it's
the original It versus It 2017 or whatever, right?
The body horror in Sweet Home, as well as something like Uzumaki by Junji Ito, there is something about
Uzumaki. Oh.
yeah, like there's something about body horror that comes from Asian horror films and writing that is so visceral and haunting without it being like over the top. And I think it's also that like none of the horror I see coming out of Japan or Korea has any sort of like Catholic basis. Like you think about like most, like you think about The Conjuring, you think about a lot of this stuff, like there still is a very Western Christian ideology that's connected to all of that versus like Junji Ito's like, no, it's just circles. People are going crazy because of circles. And like circles are showing up and they're making people go crazy and they're turning into snakes and centipedes and then their eyes are bleeding and then this giant circle shows up in their face and you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
Her hair goes crazy and she has to cut it off because curls have spirals.
Yes, not spiral. Yeah, circles. Spirals. The entire time went mad with spirals.
And that's the thing, you're right. Like there are some like Kyo is a lot of is also by Junji Ito is very body horror. Very, very much so. Body horror, like holy crap. From the get, it pretty much is. Not necessarily human bodies, but bodies nonetheless.
Bodies.
And a bonkers premise, but a simple premise.
Yeah.
Thus, despite being bonkers, but like even so, there are moments within it where he's able to set a tone of what it is we're going to be looking at, and he understands the medium well enough that I don't feel overwhelmed by what I'm looking at, even when a lot of it is very extreme. Like he brings you up to a level of comfort, you know, to an extent by just kind of exposure therapying you to it. But he keeps it at a low level. And then there will always be, everyone has some panel in each of these where there was one very specific thing, and he might have 3 or 4 or 5 in a comic in one story, or one volume. But everyone has like that moment. Like, and that just reminds, like for some people with Junji Ito, it's this, during one of the spiral ones, this girl has this dot that turns into a whole spiral and it sucks her eyeball in. Yeah. Like it just kind of goes in and her face just becomes a bigger and bigger, like inside. For some people it's that. For me, it's her brother turning into one of those snails.
Yeah, the snails.
Oh my God. Yeah. So he's really good at that balance. It's still very high tension. Like lots of Uzumaki is a girl walking around her town. You know, like it's just literally her doing chores and just noticing as things happen. It feels very, Uzumaki was very much like Salem's Lot for me in the sense, in the way
there's all these little stories. It's all these little moments.
The Lot gets its own POV chapters in Salem's Lot, and that's probably my favorite thing. For a long time, that was like my favorite thing I'd ever read was the fact that the town itself had its own chapters from like its point of view of what it's seeing from this high level, because the town was character. And that's what's going on in Uzumaki. You feel very much like people just kind of notice stuff and then it's episodic in nature, but it very much has a through line of, it just feels like certain things are getting pulled out at certain times, but it doesn't feel wrapped at the end or anything. It's really good. The tension is constant.
The madness that happens in Uzumaki feels so real. Right, as opposed to a lot of horror where there is sort of psychological things happening. It's so out there, and it's so manipulative where it's like, well, this isn't real. Versus Uzumaki's like, no, this town is keeping its shit together despite the weirdness that is happening.
Right.
And you, the audience member, are the one who's like, how come no one is recognizing what's happening? Like, because everyone is just
keeps
so, like,
going to school, and you're like,
yeah, you know. And then my best friend, her hair became alive and she got really jealous and she wanted to strangle me because of her hair. And then, the next day, the trees started talking to me. Like, there's so many things in that story that are so like, you can't, like.
People started living in row homes that all became one big, huge, kind of like Section 8 style row home, one big home. And people were so stuffed that they couldn't physically move. She passes this, and literally it talks as a what would I say? Not just like one autonomous thing, like almost as a unit. Like the people inside are picture like shoved in like the way you would like
Sure.
shove in like gummy worms into a container.
Okay.
Like
It's a
great.
that.
wonderful metaphor.
Sure.
Like their arms are poking out and they have windows and stuff, but they almost feel like they form one big mass. And she just passes this and was like, wait, I'm sorry, who's in there? This is odd. And then just keeps going.
Mhm.
Girl, what?
Sure.
Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. You feel like you're taking crazy pills. Like you're like, what's happening? How is no one noticing this?
We should
yeah.
maybe later this month, since it is spooky season, like have like let's talk about our favorite horror stories and horror movies and why horror works and why it doesn't work, and maybe even talk about like horror video games. I was thinking about replaying Resident Evil 7.
Did you play 8 already?
No, I haven't played 8. No. But like I think there's something to be said about like I love horror movies. I if I had the time, I'd watch in October. I'd watch a horror movie every single night because it's so fun during this time to be like, "Yay, horror movies! Eat horror movies!" It'd just be fun to talk about this. I don't have a lot of people I can talk about Uzumaki with, so I'm very happy that you know that and having all this happened.
Brad, read Uzumaki.
I'll be
is
happy
great.
to sit here and smile and nod. And
I will say, my absolute though Uzumaki. You brought up Uzumaki a couple of times. So is that your favorite? Like, is that your like Ito at your heart?
Yeah, and just because that was my first, right? Like,
okay.
There's a lot of stuff I haven't read of his. Like, if you have a recommendation, I'll gladly read any of it. I just love him. I just love him.
Oh yeah. No, I actively go. I'll go take a picture of my humble collection at some point, and I'll send it to you. It's not a lot. I just went out and found as many as I could, but in American, he's cool and hip now. So with kids, so he is at some comic shops that I can go to. But it's kind of like if you're lucky. I don't know what to look for other than just his name. And if you look for his name, it's Kyo and Uzumaki constantly. For me, I'm sure you've read it, but the Amikigara Fault one. I'm trying to remember. It's the happening, the event, the occurrence at
the
Amikigara
thing that happened.
Fault? Yeah, no, literally, it's something like that. The apologies.
I don't know that one.
My brain's not working, but yeah, that one is a short story on the back of another piece, and I also don't remember which one it was on the back of, but it's a short story, and that is by far the most terrifying shit I have ever read in my life. And all existential terror up your alley, Kellen. I cannot believe you have not read it. No, there are no monsters. There are no ghosts. There's what happened. The premise is there is I don't know if it's supposed to be Mount. No, it was the Amaki. It was the name of the mountain. There was like an earthquake, and it caused a fault in the mountain. And when the fault came up in the basically the earth that just surfaced, there were like several dozen, maybe like 100 or 2 human-shaped holes, just kind of going around. And you start off as a guy who's going there because he saw it on TV, young man, and he's just like, I know I saw a hole that's mine. It's me. I know it. I saw it through the TV. And he's like, as he goes up there are already dozens and dozens of people who are like, I know I saw a hole that's me. And it goes from there. And it's just
yes.
Crazy.
Yes, that sounds fucking amazing.
It's horrifying and I hate it. I love it, but like I hate it. Like genuinely upsetting.
I hate it. I can't stand it.
Genuinely upsetting. So yeah, the whole thing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the words. Did you find it, Kellen? The actual title?
No, I'm looking for it right now. I'm on the BizBig site to be like, all right, what am I missing here in terms of the name? There's censor.
The Enigma of Amigara Fault.
Oh, okay.
There you go. I told you it was somewhere. It was like the thing.
The Enigma.
Enigma of Amigara Fault.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorites of his that's like one of his smaller pieces, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's like there's like a coastal town and like the monster like shows up on the beach and people are like examining this giant dead monster, and for like years people were missing, like who go missing in the oceans, people who swim in the ocean, and then they cut the monster open and all the missing people fall out, but they've like turned into these sort of like frog-like creatures, and some of them are still alive. It is
I don't think I've read
Gross.
that one. That's awesome. Okay.
It's,
I'll look into that. I've seen there's one about like a guy who reconnects
okay, so it's in
with
the
his
Goyo. That's what got perfect.
I've read ones about there's like a puppet based one like in somebody's house. It's like puppets. You know what I meant. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Tomies are always interesting.
Mhm.
I feel like he's trying to say something with Tomie. And I just haven't read enough good things about it. Like otherwise, to me, it's just like, it sucks to be a woman. Like that's kind of feels what Tomie's about.
Yeah, I mean,
Brad, Tomie there's a series of books. There's one called Tomie. There are a bunch of short stories with her, basically. Her deal is that at some point, I want to say it happened. I don't know what causes this to happen, but this girl has some sort of curse or something is going on with her where people fall in love with her, but then are like immediately, like everyone's drawn to her. And they fall in love with her and then they are compelled to hurt her and to kill her.
Yeesh.
And they usually are compelled to chop her up, and she will grow new Tomies she will always come back. If there is any shred of DNA, she will grow a new Tomie out of that. And it'll show like this is the type of body horror he would do. It's not just like, oh, somebody's guts ripped out. It's like a girl growing out of a piece of shoulder. Like there's like a little head and like, and her eyes, and she's like attached to a wall, or like somewhere where picture Annihilation, that one scene with the guy in the pool.
Sure.
It's like that. Like, and you're just like, what am I looking at? But this basically every story is about but they're also like Highlander, like there can only be one. So if they run into one another, like if there are multiple, because like all the pieces, people are compelled to kill her in a way that would create more Tomies, and the Tomies are compelled to fight each other to be the only Tomie. It's literally just and everyone's compelled to love her to the point of wanting to kill her and killing her, regardless of whether she gives them the affection or not. And like she's a huge bitch, so the series tries to make her like, you first read it and you're like, man, fuck this girl. But like it's not like, what would you feel? Dear God. Like she started, the first thing that happened was she was a schoolgirl who was sleeping with her teacher who was married. And she was trying to get him to leave his wife, and he shoves her off like a cliff, off like a hill in a way that makes her fall on her neck. But then somehow the teacher convinces everyone that they're all culpable and it's not just him. And so he convinces them all, like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut her body up. You're all going to take a piece home and hide it somewhere. And that's how we're just going to say she never showed up for school or she ran away. And so
it's a terrible way to try to get away with murder.
I know, relying on a bunch of high schoolers who knew you were banging her. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
So then they all, like, you see they're compelled to do this, whether they realize what they're doing or not. And then at the very end, it shows a new Tomie growing out of one of the pieces. So, like, that's what started it off. And it's like, you know what? I'd be a bitch too. It would just be the fruitlessness of everything. You know what I mean? Like, to know no matter what you do. And like, yeah, so
it's just called Tomie. That's the
Tomie. Yes.
There you go.
Tomie, like a tome, but it's a Tomie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we had something we wanted to talk about tonight.
We did. We had two potential things. I think the first more important thing that was moved up due to the timeliness of it. Was Couch Guy.
Couch Guy.
Sure.
But I'm not sure what we want to talk about related. There's a lot potentially, but like there's a broad, but I don't feel like there's a lot of depth. Like
Well, there's
First of
like
all,
there's the couch guy situation. Then there's the next level, which is couch guy TikTok and couch guy drama. And then
The
there's
fandom of couch guy,
the mouse guy,
hate, or
and then
however.
there's like the commentary about the fandom, and then
Yeah.
there's the satirizing of the commentary of couch guy, and then there's
yeah, it just continues to grow.
Yeah.
I had told this to you guys earlier, but for the benefit of our viewers, I saw one video where a girl basically said, I feel awful because this girl just wanted to visit her boyfriend at college, and she reset the space-time continuum.
that's a very funny video, by the way.
She threw off. We're variants now.
Mm-hmm. We're all variants.
She just ruined the whole thing. I'm not sure. Do you feel like this hit us at like just the right time? Like there's an element of it where it's like that back to college. We've been back to college for or first time at college for a month. There's a lot of people probably on this app who can relate to probably that idea. So they were immediately like understanding the scenario. So maybe they tuned into it more. But like, I feel like the analysis that's happened and the speculation is just tea. It just became tea. And maybe we just needed a lot of tea right now. Like a good shot of tea.
Yeah.
Some,
I mean, I guess,
strange,
Carolyn, where should we start? Do we talk about who couch guy is in the situation, and then do we get into our conspiracy theories about what is actually going on with couch guy?
I mean, we could probably watch
I feel like that's
TikTok.
the least interesting part. But yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
We can watch it. I think that
Can we
makes
watch
sense.
it, Brad?
But I think
I'm
because
sure
I
I
think
could
most
pull it up,
people
yeah.
like those are the levels like 1 and 2 of what's going on.
Yeah.
So let's just treat it as like a recap.
Yeah, it's a recap. I saw the original couch guy video. Well, I'll say my reaction to what
I saw
I saw
commentaries before I had to go find it. I'm aggressively not on straight TikTok, I guess.
Here we go. Couch guy.
So far, just like that, all I breathe, all I feel, you are all for me. I'm in, just like that, all I breathe. So far,
That's
So
it.
just
That's
to
the
be
whole
clear, Brad, you watched that and your immediate thought was,
thing. I don't care about any of this,
yeah,
other than the comments.
That's like a
felt
superpower, my dude.
Weird, like wrestling match that hadn't actually happened yet, but people were arguing about it without
A
knowing
wrestling
anything about
match?
yeah. It
Okay.
felt like wrestling commentary where no one had actually watched the match.
Oh,
So they were just.
I think people were
sort
paying
of-
attention to that video very clearly. So obviously the initial and I talked to friends about this. It's
Mhm.
some people watch that and are just like, whatever, it seems kind of boring, it's fine. And then some people who are just like the people that zoom in and needle on stuff are like, that man was not at all excited to see that girl. And he's got 3 chicks mushed into his couch, onto his couch. He's squeezed in next to the last one. There's a phone handoff. There's speculation about an arm being around. But like, even without that stuff, he clearly is either very stunned, but he kind of never comes out of it. He never gets that excited ramp up. The 3 girls on the couch look like they've been caught doing something and look really awkward and just kind of keep like looking at each other and are like, so they're clearly not her friends.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't seem to acknowledge them at all. This is weird. This is his apartment.
Yeah.
And there are no other guys around. So
No. There's a couple other guys in the
they were
apartment.
with the girl, I thought, though. Were
No,
those guys
there's-
letting her in?
There's watch guy who's in the apartment already.
Okay, fair. So, yeah. So then the next set is like, debate about the phone handoff. I feel like the phone handoff has been confirmed pretty cleanly about like, because the way he reaches, he does not reach between his legs. He reaches this way under the arm, and then suddenly he's got a phone. And it felt very like, oh, where'd that come from? That very large, conspicuous phone. Didn't look like it was there a second ago.
No.
There's that. But then the other argument was that a girl had her arm around him. That was debunked because that little piece was actually Watch Guy's watch.
It's Watch Guy's hand. Yeah, it's Watch Guy's.
In the way of the angle.
It required some CSI level enhance.
Yes, they enhanced some more, and we found that we were incorrect on that particular piece. Then we started seeing a lot of compare, contrast, and satirical scenarios. So, so here's the piece that I haven't seen people really talk about. Like, they're saying like how cringy it is, and like there are elements that add to that. Yes, obviously he's not like super excited, and he could be in shock, whatever. The situation is sketchy. We've got those factors off the bat, right? Third, though, like, I'm sorry, those hops. The way she walks with the hops is really like,
Sure.
it's like a dad trying to be like it's that level of energy, and it's really awkward and weird. But the thing I'm not hearing anybody say, and admittedly, there's so many videos, I'm sure I missed it. What makes this bad is the music. If they had picked a different song, we have a learned expectation of what we are going to see on TikTok when we hear that we need to process in the beginning. Are we about to see something epic in terms of like, we're either about to see something really satirical and funny, right? Ironically using that music, or we are about to see something truly heartwarming. And we have been trained by this app and by like just the music itself, intentionally invoking that sincere feeling of awe and wonderment, or a reverse hysterical feeling of irony when you see something that is incongruous with it, whatever. But you've been trained, but your mind has been trained. You're ready. You're ramping up, and then it's such a drawn out. You're waiting, and you're like, oh, he hasn't realized yet. He hasn't hit him yet. Oh, and then you see the end, and it just, if they play any other music over it, and I bet it would it would feel different. It wouldn't be so visceral the way it is. I really think that music choice is what, like, that extra, it's the 35 million views instead of like 5. Like, that's what I'm talking about, is that extra little like, oh, no, we got to do something with this. It's because of that music. It puts in such stark relief that gulf of expectation. Yeah. Actually, what you got.
What happens? The awkwardness of it.
Happened, dude. It hits so much harder. It's like you're waiting for the drop, and in a song, and it just keeps.
It needed the imposter stinger from Among Us at the end. That's what that video needed. Exactly.
Just something to break the tension, and it's just so awful. And
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that I mentioned compare contrast situations. People started re-uploading good versions of that stuff.
Yeah.
As like that had been uploaded from like a year before, like, oh, this reminded me of this. And it would literally be like, I saw one where it was a girl walks into like a bar where I guess her friend or her girlfriend works. The girl sees her, and it's the music, and she runs into her so hard that they crash into the wall and fall to the ground. And they're still hugging.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you think you're going to get, jokes about head trauma from how intensely this person missed you and loves you and just wants to hold you, and, the whole thing. So it's just, the music, I think, is, so that's my addition to this conversation.
Well, I'm going to bring up a wrinkle in all this. Okay. If you are this young woman, there is either one of two things that is happening when you make this video. You choose that song intentionally because you believe that this is going to be a great moment, and you do not see what the rest of us see. Or, and here's my conspiracy theory, you take this video again. So she this is her account. She wants to make this video. She wants to have this really great moment.
Oh, she's been doubling down, tripling down, defending. They've been very much like, I wish people wouldn't question our, like this legitimate relationship just because he didn't react the way you thought. Like it's clearly option A for her.
Yeah.
She believes that and did not see anything anyone else
She believes it. So my conspiracy theory is, because there's another part of this video that I've not heard anybody talk about that I think is really strange. It's a really weird sort of thing. No one's talking about this. Is he's got another thing in his hand. He's playing on the Nintendo Switch. All of them, the people who are in the room, are all playing on the Nintendo Switch, and he's like in this sort of moment where he's playing and not playing, and he sort of sets the controller down. He's going through it. There is a part of me that thinks, not that it's I'm gonna make a real stretch here, y'all. It's just a conspiracy theory, not a belief, right? It's a part of me that thinks that this is all intentionally done. That this, the song, the awkwardness, all of it.
I thought it was satirical, but it's been played so straight.
It's been played so straight. There is a part of me, and I'm going to use the A word. I know you guys don't like this. There's a part of me that feels that this is like very artful, that this is very intentional art.
What A word?
What?
No, you're right.
How dare you say that word?
I just feel like this is like performance art. Like I don't really think it's performance art because it's like these kids clearly don't know what the fuck they're doing. But there is a part of me that would love if this was all like, nope, we did this all on purpose. Like they get the whole cast and crew there.
Right. It's the first 6 months of Lonely Girl 15 all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just played way too real for way too long.
It's way too real and way too long, right? There is just something about this that I think, like we're watching this like it's a Zapruder film, and there is something about like, I think as Caroline sort of said in the beginning, like it hit in the right time in the right place because there's so much conspiracy theory. It's just nice to have something that ultimately affects nothing. Right. This affects no one's dying. There's no Pandora papers being written about this. This is not connected to Facebook. This is just a couple, and it's easy to understand and easy to be like, good guy, bad guy. No, it's this. No, it's that. And it's just like, wasn't it so before the apocalypse started? Wasn't this so much better?
I'm so ready for precedent in days. On that note, actually, when you mean distraction from the real world terribleness, we got some excellent news like an hour and a half ago, which is that a federal judge in Austin has blocked the Texas abortion ban from being enacted.
Yes, that is
any further.
Yes.
Which is fabulous. And clinics are assumedly working on getting up and running. In case you weren't aware, I live in Texas. I am a person with a uterus. And while I do not intend to have any more children, that's kind of the point. It is incredibly frustrating to be told what to do with my body when I moved from the single most leftist, one of the most leftist, not the single most, one of the most leftist leaning. That leftist is also a noun.
Just keep digging.
You get what I'm saying.
Just keep digging.
It's a noun. You get what I'm saying. Shut up. States, and then I moved to Texas because my in-laws live here. So, so I'm just like that obnoxious, like purple-haired lizard that lives down the street from most of my very Republican.
I mean, can you blame them? Those games
for being Republican.
Jeremy's comments.
I mean, I've been in that same situation, Jeremy, where I've been playing Mario Kart, and someone walks in and I'm like, "Yo, hold on, just give me one lap, and I'll jump or run." Right.
I was wondering if that's where you're going with it. Like, was he just didn't want to lose his spot?
I didn't think honestly, I think he was one. I think he's super high. I think he's high out of his mind. I also think
that's a good point.
I think that I also think that there are, just because I've seen other videos, he is just awkward when a camera is on, and that's the thing that I think is interesting. I don't think anybody acts natural. I think when you see these videos where like a camera's on, the person who's being filmed knows something's about to happen. And it's like a magic trick or hypnosis. Like, it's like, no, I better perform because the camera's fucking on. And no one is filming this for no reason at all, right? There's got to be a reason this is about to happen. So I better play it up. Oh, God.
So he didn't even have that instinct. So he's very
because I think he's high out of his mind, hence the weird reach of the hand with the phone thing. The whole phone thing doesn't make any sense to me at all. But the
girl had his phone. She could. This isn't one of those things where I have to like shake my cane at the youngins because like I don't get why that's a big deal.
Why is that a big deal?
Like, Rob could give his phone. My husband could give his phone to other people. I'm sure you have something you want to show them. Like you do with me and normal people. What am I missing right now?
A bunch
This
of
is
people
like-
clearly on TikTok passing around a phone. That's crazy.
Well, no, I think the idea is like it's sketchy in the same
Sure.
way that people get weird about like if you're Snapchatting people. I can't do this. I'm gonna sound. I'm like in my head like you sound.
No,
you
go
sound
ahead.
50
Let's hear
right
it.
now.
Let's hear it.
No, I can't even properly say it. Like the way, literally, I just don't understand. There's a lot tighter rules, just tighter rules. I think it just comes from a place of like deep insecurity. So it's like, no, you can't like talk to girls. Like when you see like teenagers be like, you can't talk to other girls or like talk to other guys. I assume what they mean is talk in a flirting way and not just casually talk. But the whole thing is such a weird thing to have to say. Like I have never had to tell someone that I was dating, you can't talk to other people. Like we just had open communication and kind of understood like we were in the same place and wanted the same things. Like
It
I don't
sounds
know.
like you've always had healthy boundaries with.
not always.
But we're together now. You can no longer communicate with half of the human population.
I'm
Well,
just-
there are
it's
people
like
who
a
say
thing
that.
I don't get. So like I think the same way, like her having his phone, and to me, I'm like, was she looking at his pictures? Is that not okay? What did I miss?
Yeah.
Like maybe she's just looking at his shit, but that's like, I guess, a private thing that girlfriends wouldn't want their boyfriends doing. I don't know. That I literally can't talk about this without and I'm consciously aware of how old I sound as I try and be
So-
like,
I don't know
apparently
if you
can't-
sound old. I don't know if you
So-
sound old, Caroline. I feel like because I'm in the same way. I'm like I don't
We're
understand.
all
what
old,
what-
Kellen. I'm sorry, my dude. Like
It's true.
If I'm an oldster, I'll lean into
we
it.
are.
But what I've
Be
not
into
heard is someone explain the phone situation. Like I guess there is a part of me that is so confused, not from a like.
It was more
What-
the sketchy handoff, also probably like if she had just put his phone down or kept it.
Yeah.
Like, but instead she's like he reaches for it like you shouldn't have my phone. I think maybe that's what it is more so than the fact that she had his phone.
Mhm.
But like a creepy like. Do people do that thing where they like open notes and then they type notes to each other on the same phone? Do people do that? Is that a thing?
I didn't know that was a thing. Is that a thing?
Jeremy, they are on my lawns. I have multiple lawns and I want them to be not full of kids on their phones. Like, also my social security check is late. Like there's a lot going on in my life right now. And
Caroline
I
is
really-
redefining the term blue hair, by the way. I love it.
Sure, for sure.
I don't, just maybe have some empathy, okay?
What I find really strange is the first time I watched this video, I was like, "What? Did I miss it?
That's
Or
what
did I miss it?" Like, and that's what made me feel old. I was like, I don't understand TikTok anymore because I don't know why this has 3 million views. Like, what am I missing here? Like, is
When
this?
I don't understand, I immediately go to the comments, and then I was like, okay, yeah, it's underwhelming. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are parts of me that wonder, like, all the satire of it, in my opinion, is so lazy. It's so lazy to see all of the like, hey, visiting, and it's all the same awkwardly shot, bumpy walk, and then they walk into a room, and then it's clearly like, you know, the guy and the girl's got his dick in his hand, and it's just like, oh, it's so. I'm just like, I want to see. I'm so bored. I'm so bored with how
I watched a few, and then I was like, okay,
and it's
I gotta
bad.
quit.
It's all really, really bad. And that's the thing I think that's so funny to me is I'm like, there could be so many interesting things you could do with this. And I've not seen a single satire that's good.
I'm
boring.
thinking about. I feel like the moment got missed while I was on my post ban. But I was thinking about doing one. I was trying to think about would it be like Bryce and my husband like cuddling on the couch and me being like how dare you cheat on me with this man, like daddy. You know, you could do something like that, or you could do something like I have 2 Bendy plushies.
Mhm.
So I could do something with that. Like I was trying to think of something, but then I feel like that was like one of those hot spikes that came straight down. Like, and now everybody's kind of like, we talked about it. So I feel like I missed my chance. But yeah, I did see one that I really liked that was similar. It wasn't the obvious. It was a guy going to see his girlfriend, walks in, couch, his girlfriend, supposedly, I don't know. And then 3 guys, and they're all sitting there eating noodles just aggressively. And she kind of gets up and is like, you know, does the like, a thing, but it's funny because the three guys are losing their shit, just like trying not to laugh as they eat these noodles. And it's just, and they have their heads down. Like they walked in and everybody had their heads down eating noodles. Like I don't know, but it was really funny. I don't know why. I just loved everything. It felt like it was making fun of the satires even. Like it was just great. I really, really enjoyed it.
It's just weird. It's yeah. People. I think about if I was Couch Guy. Right? I try to empathize with Couch Guy and be like, who the fuck does this guy? What happens with his life? Right? Is he forgotten? Or is this guy going to be Couch Guy for the rest of his life?
Nobody was really looking at him. I couldn't pick Couch Guy or her out of a lineup. Like, absolutely not. I mean, most people watch like one video or two videos, and it's like, oh, it's a skinny white guy with brown hair. Sorry, Brad. Like, it's both of you.
Because Brad's hair is more red. I meant Brad. It's much more red than brown.
Well, he's got yellow light on him, so I assumed it was brown, and it just looked more red because of that. He does have red beard, kind of, though.
I do. I'm a latent ginger. The red.
A lot of people have red beard but brown hair.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to box him in. So I don't know, but I feel like it spiked really hard, and there was a moment there to capture some stuff. But yeah, people didn't go too crazy with it. It was more, I saw some commentary around it though. Like again, like the space-time continuum thing, like those are probably the best thing to come out of it. Or just the random ones where it's just somebody talking about Couch Guy in some way. And the fact that it became its own thing separately. It's just cool. Yeah. I don't know. I like watching things build and evolve like that. That's probably the reason I like YouTube drama.
Yes. I guess I feel like there is something about this that feels very concise and contained. It feels like a little haiku in some ways, as opposed to YouTube drama gets so big and so bloated.
Yeah, the YouTube drama is like Days of Our Lives. Like it's been going on. It goes back years. Yeah. It's got plot threads from 2016, like that are coming back, like Jeffree Star, something, and that's how we got here.
Yeah. And I like that about YouTube drama because it does feel more like this is melodrama. This is exactly what it needs to be. Whereas this felt like it was like, again, all these people having these ideas and these theories and everything else. But at the end of the day, no one got hurt. They're still together.
Yeah.
No
one ultimately cares. People forget about this.
Yeah.
Like have already mostly forgotten. Like it's not. Yeah. I like YouTube drama because it's basically my soap opera. But I also then I find like the really good accounts that'll be like, oh, a therapist reacts or a psychologist reacts to burn. Maybe if you drank more milk.
Maybe. Then I might have to shave more than once every 3 or 4 months.
Or eat more butter.
More butter, Brad. That's the best way to do it.
Uncalled for.
You knew it was butter. You knew we were going there.
It always comes back to butter.
Carolyn, let me ask you a question. And this has nothing to do with anything that has been happening in my life or Brad's life or anybody else's life. How do you deal with drama in your own world? Like drama's fun when it's the TV show.
Very.
How do you deal with drama in your world?
Deal with isn't like a interesting choice of words. Because that implies that I want to. I will. It depends. I will either ram into it, like a what I say, a cow catcher that doesn't actually catch cows.
A cow catcher
on a train.
Sure. No.
I will either do that, and I will ride like an anger train into that.
True.
Or I will just like aggressively try and like pat it down and not think about it and try and distract myself and forget about it. But usually I can't do that. Usually like if I try and do that, if I don't address something directly in some way, it will just like live in my head until I do. So that usually involves Drama for me at this point is entirely family drama, and it's almost entirely between like me and my mother-in-law or my in-laws in some way.
Yikes.
And it's not ever anything like I know I make jokes about and express frustrations about my mother-in-law a lot. Let me go on record. My mother-in-law is one of the best people I have ever known. She is truly an amazing person. She cares deeply about the people around her, and has gone out of her way to like, she's a loving mom, loving grandma, like, you know, just truly a good person. She's bossy as fuck and I can't handle it. And like, to me, like, we're just very different in the way we affect. Like, she's one of those people who like doesn't want to say it and, you know, so like finds ways to be like around it. And I'm like, can we talk about this, please? Like, and then she's like physically attacked. Like, she hates doing that with family because she's like, I don't like fighting with family. And we talked about that. And I was like, I need to have a conversation in order to feel like I've resolved it. Otherwise, it will eat me up, like, until I naturally kind of move on from it. But that takes forever. And I just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But she never wants to like do that.
Mhm.
Like, so to me, it just feels like she'll like be sometimes she is doing this and sometimes it's innocent, and she really just doesn't realize that the way she says things, the way I interpret the things that she's like, the way I'm reading the cues coming from her is completely different than maybe what she intends. But like, she's very, from my perspective, like very passive aggressive with the family, or like finds ways to like side needle in her, you know, it expresses, she won't talk about things directly. So it comes out in all these like side comments, plus she's bossy. And those two things together are goddamn some of the most fucking irritating things. Cause I will like, I'm defensive and I'm embarrassed because I feel judged. And then I'm defiant and I'm stubborn and I'm angry and I'm all these things. And then I'm just like, fuck you. Like, don't brush me off, you know, when I like, she showed up to take my son and my husband to go get their haircut because they just are on a different time scale than I am. We go to the same place. It's very weird. And she has a booster seat in the car. My son is 5. He weighs about 45 pounds. He can technically, I guess, go in a booster seat.
Yeah.
They have a car seat. And I was like, they never talked to me about this.
Yeah.
No one brought this up to me. I was like, or I had already talked to her when I saw her do that. I was like, you could take him this time, but he needs to have his car seat. Like, if you're going to be driving, because she was switching cars with her husband for some reason. I was like, if you're going to do that, like, they have the booster seat from my niece, who is a year and a half older than him and is in a booster seat. So this was like weeks ago. I don't know. I was like, you have to bring the other car seat in here. I know it's a pain in the ass. I don't get why you would do this, but like, he's not big enough. Like, don't put him in a booster seat. She shows up with the booster seat. And I'm like, Joni, what are you doing? Like, you freak out at me if he so much as scratches himself. If I don't take it seriously enough to your liking, or like, that's how I translate it, because I know I'm being defensive. She over freaks out, which makes me feel defensive because it's not that big of a deal. But then I also manage her. And now you're just going to be willy-nilly with his fucking car seat? Are you kidding me? You know, so I'm just like, why do you, and she, from my perspective, I see her, she's like, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I know. Come on. Like, and to me, I'm like, oh, you are waving me off right now. You are waving me off on a thing. Like, come on. I know. Yeah, I know. I'll do it. And like, no, we got to go. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, again, like, to me, it's like, bossy, this isn't your place. Like, you're overstepping. What the fuck? Like, have a conversation with me. And I messaged to Rob when I get inside, and I'm like, please talk to her about this. Like, this shit can't happen again. If she comes by, I'm like mad. I'm like, if she comes by and that's the end again, no, he's staying here. You can go and get the car that has the car seat. Like, now it's like, why aren't you listening to me? Why aren't you, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, but then I realized he's gone. So I messaged her a text that was not, I didn't yell at her or anything. I just said, you know, you need to respect me. You know,
laying down a boundary, talking as
like,
an adult.
Yeah. So I forget exactly what I said, but it was something like, I need you to respect my decisions and the things I say when it comes to Bryce's safety. Like, I understand that like it's a pain to do this, but like you know, it frustrates me a lot, especially when I've said this to you before and, you know, you just appear to just wave me off. So I made it clear, like, this is my interpretation of what just happened. I'm very frustrated by this, you know? And I kind of said like, hey, it's not your call. Like, I get you disagree with me on this. It's not your call to make. Then I didn't realize, so what I didn't realize is that Rob had gone to get his haircut too. So he was with her. He did see my Discord message. I thought he was on a call or something. So I just let it go. I was like, oh, instead of messing with him, I'll just text her. But what happened was she's sitting there on the couch. I guess she was waving it off because she was embarrassed that she didn't do it yet. And she knew she was being called on it or something. Not to like, that's just where her head was at.
Yeah.
And so Rob then starts yelling at her because of my Discord message. And then she reads my text and I talked to my hairstylist later. She was like, my husband was like, apparently like, you need to deal when she says whatever, you need to do it because I have to deal with it when you don't do it. And like, yeah. And he's like, look at me. Like, like he must have been pissed for some reason. I don't know. And she's like looking at this text and freaking out. And just like, I'm like, oh, she must have felt really ganged up on. Great. Good. Love it.
Yeesh.
So this is what I mean, where it's like, she's a great person.
Yes.
There are things, and these are things that like push my buttons. And then on top of it, the way we communicate and the ways we want to communicate are diametrically opposed. So it makes for a lot of content.
At least there's that, I guess.
Yeah.
The content is so good.
It is good. It's good content. That's true.
So,
what about you, Brad? How do you deal with drama?
Not well.
I feel like you're just a void. You just turtle, right?
Oh no, I don't
know.
I'm not good at that. No, I will throw a grenade.
Yeah, that's what Brad does.
Oh, I love that.
You want me to pull this
Send me
pin?
screenshots.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, look, I got
I
a
have
pin.
people that I will literally send a message like, am I throwing this grenade or am I leaving?
Yeah.
And they will tell like, no, just leave. Or sometimes they'll be like, why not?
Burn it down on the way out.
Just burn it all down, and then
Burn
I
it
do.
I love it about Brad.
It's
so
entertaining for some people. It is stressful for me.
Oh, well, don't do anything stressful for you. But like, oh my god,
Yeah, I don't deal well with like simmering drama. I will just make it blow up, and then if we can pick up the pieces,
have the conversation, right?
If we can pick up the pieces, great. If not, I guess the bridge is already blown up, so we're good. I don't deal well with like letting things sit and simmer in the background.
I hate it
at all, as Kellen is very aware.
I love it. It's why I was just Brad and I was like, ooh, we get along very well. No simmering, none of this. Let's get this bullshit.
I would much rather
really
someone tell me to fuck off to my face and we can deal with it than like any sort of passive aggressive or any kind of background stuff. Can't deal with it.
My response to passive aggression when I see it and if I feel I'm in a place where it's safe and comfortable for me to do so is just to be like direct, like, oh, what did you mean by that? Like I think about did you ever watch Frenemies? I think probably not, but do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what H3H3 is?
Yes.
So H3H3.
Oh right, it's Ethan and what's her name? Yeah.
Ethan and Trisha Paytas. So Ethan Klein, who is one of the primary, I guess, host of H3H3 or owner, I guess. I guess his wife has a clothing shop that they have together, but she's in charge of that and then appears as a guest on the show. Anyway, Frenemies was him and Trisha Paytas, who is a internet person.
Piece of trash, like
disaster.
Nothing redeemable about her. Like
she tricked us for a long time while she was on there. People really liked her. She was on the right side of a lot of issues, and she went. But it makes me think of the way they when she has, according to her. Let me be very clear. According to her and Ethan and like the people who know her well, she has these like jags, and you can see them on that podcast where she turns like super mean. And it feels like she's obviously super bitter, and it's like, can we talk about like, and she will say the most awful, like passive aggressive, but not like, I mean, I would never put my kids in daycare, but like literally talking out of the like that, like really obvious, terrible stuff. That's meant to like hit veins, you know, and nerves. And he will very directly be like, oh, are you saying I'm a bad parent because I have someone watch my child? Like his response is like toneless and clarifying and direct and in her face. That's how I would aim to be anytime I have an issue like that. I would aim to be like he is in those moments. I think it's a really like, not necessarily the best way. Like it doesn't always work as a strategy. I'm not saying that I think it's an effective strategy to do anything. I'm just saying it feels really comfortable. It feels right for me. But I know not everybody's like that. But that's how I tend to be. Like I will run head first into it the more you try to insinuate some shit.
It is the hardest part about living in the Midwest. Because everybody here speaks a different language. Everyone here speaks a language that I don't speak, and I am known as an asshole to so many friends because I am not Midwest nice. Because I'm like, what did you mean by that? Because I speak directly. Because I'm aggressive, and I'm like, I am not an aggressive person. But here, in the land of vampires and werewolves, I am seen. Is that where we are? I refer to the Midwest as like you're either a vampire or you're a werewolf. In the Midwest, there are vampires in terms of people who are cold. They have no affectation. They are people who are essentially just bloodsuckers, right? They are just these people who are like, oh, of course, yeah, this is wonderful. Like that's what I see as a vampire in the Midwest. Or you have the people who are totally normal. Totally absolutely normal at all, and then something happens to them and they turn into fucking monsters who will throw down, and then the next day something happens and it's like nothing happened at all. Those are the two types of people who live and survive in the Midwest.
I hate that.
Yeah, I would not deal very well with either of those things.
Well, and there's also there's a great TikToker that I follow who talks constantly about Midwestern existentialism and this idea of people who live in the Midwest are used to settling. Because that's how you survive here. Because the winters and the terrain and the culture is all about not making a splash, not causing problems, not being aggressive, and settling. And that is what the ideology is. And so like when I am here and I'm like, let's push the button, let's see what we can do. It is so counterintuitive to what it means to be a true Midwesterner that I am constantly like, I'm not going to say gaslit. It seems a little aggressive, like lowercase gaslit in terms of saying like, oh, you're, the way you communicate is really, really aggressive and you're a really mean person. I'm like, am I, or am I speaking a truth that you're uncomfortable hearing, or am I speaking in a manner of which you're not used to? Because it is easier to survive when no one says anything. When it's all about secrets and talking behind people's backs and being nice. It's a culture difference.
Yeah. That's why people say like New Yorkers are assholes. Like, not really. Like, no. You're more likely. Everybody's kind of on edge because they're all very late to something. So like that is
they're
part
busy.
of it. Everyone's very busy. So like that kind of like, but that's every city. Like
it's every city. Yeah.
It's not unique to New York, No. So yeah, I do imagine that it's probably just a culture thing.
It's a huge cultural thing. And again, the interesting thing, especially about Chicago, is it's all these transplants for people who lived out in the cornfields and then moved to the big city because that's what they wanted to do. And then it's all of these little neighborhoods of all these little cornfield people who are like, well, I went to the same cornfield area that you went to. I grew up around the street of that cornfield. I love them cornfields. And we now live in the big city. And I'll tell you what, it's great to be white in this city. I love that we are all white and middle class in this city. It's so wonderful. That's Chicago.
I've been reading my comp, and they make some good points.
I make some good points. I feel like, you know what? I'm never going to go past State Street because I hear that's where the great unwashed tend to be. But I do enjoy the Mexican restaurants that are down there. It's so nice.
Oh, God.
It's just a lot.
That makes me think of, my dad used to be a police officer, and in Maryland, there was some retired cop party with their wives or something. And they're all, my dad's in his 75, like they're all that, like at the time, I think they were early 60s, early to mid 60s. And we were there and I'm the only like not boomer there, And I'm talking, I'm kind of just like, whatever, sure. And I'm sitting with some of the wives, and they're talking about neighborhoods or something, and one of them is like, "Oh yeah, but it's gotten awful dark."
Yeah.
And I genuinely had to ask her what that meant. I was like, "I don't." That mean? And she went. I pointed at her skin, and I was like, "Oh, you're racist!" Like, I was like,
Of course.
"Oh my god,
it's the racism."
That was before I understood. That was before I had any even vaguest sense of a clue that that the world fucking sucks. Super bad. Like way worse than.
It is a dumpster fire.
Huge dumpster fire.
So bizarre.
It is.
It is so tough. Yeah.
You want to cheer up by watching a funeral?
Yay! A funeral? What?
I'm down.
That was a very quick switch.
I just heard video, and I was like, no, he said funeral, not video, Kellen.
I mean, it is a video of a funeral.
Look, trust the Brad. You trust the algorithm, you trust the Brad.
Trust the Brad.
It's the best funeral ever.
Is that dude wearing a wig? Surprisingly well coordinated, given.
Right?
Here we go!
Vegas. I thought it was just gonna be like Vegas.
So good.
It did not disappoint Jeremy. Oh my god.
As long as it makes Jeremy happy,
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
that's fine. Yeah. It doesn't have to really do much else.
That's it.
Oh, goodness.
So this has been great. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to talk about, or what?
I mean, you know,
Pretty drunk.
drama is drama, man.
It is.
It's wild.
Yeah, I really don't. get into drama other than just occasionally bumping heads with the grandma. That's it. Otherwise,
I mostly get into it by accidentally forgetting not to say the things that other people just haven't said yet, and then it blows
doing
up.
that thing like the little kid at the wedding. I can't believe you wore white. Or excuse me, my mom says I can't. She can't believe you wore white.
Right.
One of the best commercials of all time because it's memorable, it's clear, it's good. It was for chewy granola bars, and it was like shut them up.
Nice.
Amazing. Do you guys remember that Tide commercial? This makes me think of it now. So it was a Tide Supermole commercial with the talking stain.
I'm not sure.
Oh my God, Google it. Watch it. Pull it up.
All right, I got it right here.
You're better at it than
All
I
right.
am. Talking stain Tide commercial. There's probably a longer one and a shorter one. I don't know, but there's one of the best.
Right, I got it right here, Brad.
All right.
It's one of the best commercials of all time.
All right, here we go.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, you know, an organized person, somebody who does not leave details out. I'm actually very, very good with groups. Group work. I've surpassed all my goals, my previous position, my prior job, and your competitor. My personnel and me have surpassed their own goals.
That's pretty good.
It's so good. That whole series was amazing. But it's so good. It's so good. It so clearly demonstrates what they're trying to say in the best way. And the thing sounds hilarious. I genuinely never taken away from that commercial what that dude was actually saying in those moments. Amazing.
It's extremely well done.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh my God. That one will stick with me forever. Do you guys have any commercials like that stick with you?
Oh,
I
I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe that's a prep for next
Maybe
time.
we could come back next week with
favorite
weird commercials.
And then we could talk about K-pop question mark.
Sure.
There's so many things you could potentially talk about related to K-pop. I was thinking about something related to like member positions and kind of like some of the.
All right, I'm sorry. I got to show you this one. This is it's 6 minutes. I'm real sorry. It's a series of commercials.
That's fine. Let's do it.
Is it for the Legal Eagle here in Texas?
I wish it was.
The fucking Legal Eagle, man. That dude's real. Him and the Adler brothers. The Texas Hammer. They're another
Texas Hammer. I've seen those ones. Yeah.
Texas Hammer. That's real. I get them on the radio when I drive around.
Wow.
This is for a piece of candy.
どうしたの？
トールさんが避ける組咲いてる時の顔が好き。
そう？
もっと長く見てたいな。
Long, long,
危ないね、あの人。避ける軍隊、長い避ける組。
Okay, so there's commercial one.
キリンさんが見て手長猿。
It's the same couple.
ちーちゃんは長いのが好きなんだね。
別に意識してるわけじゃないけど。
気のせいか。
long, long.
前にも言ったね、あの長い人。
Oh, I love that he's aware of it.
Oh, just wait. You're about to go on a
先で避ける
journey.
組のマンゴー見つけてさ。バイク便で送ったから。
そう、すごいタイミング。
サインお願いします。
Long, long,
ちーちゃん、聞こえてる？
届いたよ。ありがとう。
マンゴー味珍しいからたくさん買ったんだ。今度2人で食べようね。
Oh no.
It
John.
begins.
軍隊、長い避ける組。
それ触ってみてもいいですか？
Oh my God. Just
はい。これどうやって咲くんですか？
こんな風に。
long, long man.
すいません。
あ
すみません。
Oh, jeez.
Jesus Christ.
Just wait.
避ける軍隊長い
Just uncomfortable about it.
はい。
電話出ないから心配になって。
ちょっと寝込んでて、
これ持ってきたから一緒に食べよう。
今日は。ちょっと待って、今のね。
Long, long
It's simultaneously juvenile and graphic, and I don't.
Right.
避ける
Okay, that's great.
ゆいちゃん、どうして俺じゃなくてこいつなんだよ。
それは。
ああ、そうかい。長けりゃいいのかい。ビロー。じいちゃん。
黙っててごめん。実は私もう長くないの。
It's getting intense.
長いものを見ると安心できるの。
避ける組隊長い避ける組。
そんな猿しないしたの？目移りするの地位の悪い癖だよ。
だって長いんだもん。
長さに騙されてんじゃねえよ。避ける組一袋分並べていくと、ほら同じ長さになるの。食べやすいようにわざわざ切ってあるんだよ。トールさん優しい。
避ける組隊長い避ける組。
ちいちゃん聞いてもいい？
何？
プロポーズってどんな風にされたい？
え？
正直に言ってごらん。
フラッシュモブは嫌かな。なんかこっぱずかしいし、フラッシュモブ以外
ちいちゃん、僕と結婚。
long man.
耳長っ。
避ける組隊長い避ける組。
Oh my God, Chichan, make up your mind.
ダメ。
Oh,
結婚式までお預け。
シェー、おやすみ。
おやすみ。
long, long man.
どちらまで？
どうして？
は？
すいません。やっぱり忘れられない。
避ける組隊長い避ける組。
oh my God.
叫んじゃねえぞ。はたぼうよ。
Long,
Of course.
long man.
避ける組隊長い避ける組。
私、長い間あなたのこと待ってたの。トールさんごめんなさい。私のことは忘れて。分かったでしょ？私はひどい女なの。
ああ、もうやだ。どうしていつも俺の前に払われるんだよ。
一目見た時から君のことが。
long, long man.
Plot twist. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Epic.
But didn't he sleep with her?
トール君、
俺？嘘だろ。
高いのに。どうして？
僕らはきっと分かり合える。
触ってみてもいいですか？
きっと
Oh my God, Japan. What?
避ける組長い避ける組。
It's so good. It's
That was
so
a
Amazing.
journey.
good.
That was a journey. Absolutely.
That
was a
was
journey.
fantastic. Thank
That was
you.
good stuff.
Thank you very much for showing me that.
Oh.
I am a happier person having seen that.
And like when you think about that, like imagine if that's what commercials were. Imagine if commercials
So
had
good.
like storylines, like you come back like, oh my god, did you see the new Lawman commercial?
Some of them kind of do that. Like Progressive kind of did that for a minute with Flo. Like not this intense, but like some of them kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. That was so good.
That was
I don't think we could beat that. So
no, I don't think so either.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
thank you, everybody. I feel like we have a lot of people watching us, which isn't weird. A lot is like 4, but you know, that's awesome.
Good
See
times,
you guys,
y'all.
next week.
I'll see y'all next
whenever.
week.
Bye.